Storytellers of tomorrow! I want to ask you a question. What's something that you remember most from your favorite fantasy story? What stuck with you more than anything else? Was it the complex magic system? Was it the incredibly deep and rich lore? Was it the mind-boggling landscape and setting? Regardless of what it was, all the aspects I just mentioned have one thing in common, and that's world building! That's right, and even if you're just a baby beginner writer, you know how much fun world building can be. Creating an entire civilization, language, or rich landscape offers a taste of what godhood is like. And I think God intended for it to be that way. He gave us our imaginations for a reason. But as fun as world building is, it could also be a really serious struggle. I've had tons of writer friends who've fallen into the trap of thinking they can't start their story yet because their world is unfinished. I mean, it's a valid concern. In order for your world to feel real, it has to feel lived in, well-structured, and detailed. So many writers get caught up in the details of world building that they lose sight of what's really important, the story itself. If readers could choose between an epic world and a good story, they're gonna choose a good story. World building still provides a unique opportunity though. It can help enrich the lessons your story is trying to teach and can even provide good conflicts for your characters. Storytellers of tomorrow, I know you want to write good, memorable settings that your readers can feel immersed in. So today I'm going to help you zoom out and focus on what really matters most when creating a world, and I call it Holyoke's 5 Pillars of World Building! In most of the epic fantasies that I've read, I've noticed that there's 5 key points, or pillars if you will, that authors have to focus on to make their worlds feel more immersive. All of these pillars are connected to each other, and you don't have to build them up in any specific order. If you focus on one, the rest will naturally start to fall into place, and your world will feel much more well thought out and connected. Pillar number 1 is culture! Not that kind of culture. People are the primary focus of your story, and culture is what makes your people who they are. You have a culture, even if you don't realize it. You have beliefs, traditions, mindsets that you developed because of the family or the community that you grew up in. These all play an integral role in shaping who you are as an individual. And your culture in your book needs to do the same thing to your characters. But you may ask, Gable, where does culture come from? Excellent question, young grasshopper. Culture is rooted in history. Major events like wars, natural disasters, migrations, or moments of deep spiritual significance all play a key role in shaping culture. Think about American culture. It's a huge, messy melting pot of all kinds of traditions and rituals and mindsets that we've developed based on different moments that occurred in our history. When you're developing your world's culture, you need to think about major events in its history that have shaped it into what it is in the present time. What holidays or figures of speech have been developed based on those major events? What do people do to either remember or shun those events? Culture runs much deeper than just action, though. Food, art, dance, songwriting, music, literature, clothing, they all stem from the culture of your world. What specific foods do your people eat on certain holidays? What clothes do they wear? Do they have plays or songs that they sing or perform each year in order to commemorate those major events that have shaped their culture? When you can answer these questions, your world will start to feel much more expansive and alive, because your people will feel more expansive and alive. The second pillar of world building is society. You're a menace to society! While culture deals with your world's identity, society deals with your world's sustainability. How does your world function? What keeps the people from going boom? Every kind of country, regardless of how primitive or struggling it may seem, has a form of society. They have a system set in place that helps keep them safe. Society stems from the basic human need to have order and feel secure. And there's lots of different ways society has done that in our own history. What kind of government does your world have? And how does that government affect the lives of your characters? The state of your society should once again be a result from the major events that occurred in your world's history. In Suzanne Collins' Hunger Games trilogy, the capital of Panem rules with strictness and mercilessness as a result of a rebellion that took place many years before that resulted in the downfall of most of the world's governments. The way the people of your world have chosen to organize themselves says a lot about them. If they live in constant fear because of an event in their past, then there will be a lot more emphasis in their government on curfew laws or security forces. If they're rich and think themselves top dog, maybe they have a lot more emphasis on conquering other countries and on their military might. Society is so much more than just this, though. Remember, in a fantasy world, your society has to deal with magic! How does magic affect your society, or how does your society affect magic? If you have a bunch of wizards in your world that can turn anything into gold, then how is the monetary system adapted to deal with that? How do your class systems or hierarchy work? How does magic affect that? Understanding the things that are most valuable to your people will help you understand the kind of society they're going to establish. Pillar number 3 is religion! Before I catch you scratching your head, let me remind you that religion has influenced our world since the dawn of time. More important than showing us how a culture or society acts is showing us what a culture or society believes. In our own world's history, faith has had more powerful effect on people than wars, political unrest, and natural disasters combined. People are willing to die for their faith. They're willing to make intense sacrifices for their faith. Surely so much of culture and society are based on religion. Ask yourself, who are the gods of your world? Who or what do your people worship, and how do they worship them? What has happened to your culture as a result of religion, or vice versa? My advice to you is take a study up on the history of our world. See how new religions formed and what new religions did to society and culture. Also, if you're writing a fantasy world, keep magic in mind. How does magic influence religion? What is religion's opinion toward magic? Or is magic seen as a result of religious observance? In my own book series, The Aurora Order, I established the magic system as stemming from the mastery of the soul. The Aurora Order operates like a religion. They have gods and they have foundational principles that help them develop mental and spiritual mastery, therefore elevating their souls and allowing them to perform magic. Remember, most importantly, that the characters you write will be much more driven by what they believe than what is happening to them. Pillar number 4 is geography! Here's where things can get really fun. Something that makes your world iconic is the way it looks and feels. Readers remember the imposing misty mountains of Middle-earth or the endless spice-filled desert of Arrakis. What is the geography of your world like? And how have people and other life forms adapted to it? If the geography, climate, and ecosystem are all a bit bizarre, then you have to think about how that's going to affect the evolution of your flora and fauna that live there. If your world is a huge ocean with a few islands dotted here and there, it can't have giraffes and zebras. I mean, I'm just saying. In Brandon Sanderson's best-selling book series, The Stormlight Archive, the world of Roshar is at the mercy of giant storms that ravage the land. Grass doesn't grow on Roshar because the storms would sweep everything away before it has a chance to plant itself. So instead, the plants have evolved to burrow underground to survive the storms. Animals on Roshar evolved crustacean-like shells to help them better endure the elements. Your world's geography can also influence the cultural, societal, and religious practices of your people as well. If the environment your people live in is harsh and intense and unforgiving, then you're going to see that transition into the kind of values and practices they have in their culture or religion. Building the environment and geography of your world can be tons of fun, but remember that none of it can come without consequence. You have to make sure life is adapted well enough to live in the kind of world you're making. And pillar number 5 is theme! Theme is the most important aspect of your story, and should drive the rest of the pillars of world building. Your theme can be present in your culture, in your society, in your religion, even in your geography! Always remember to ask yourself, what is the message you're trying to deliver through your story? What is the lesson you want people to learn? Your characters need to learn that message too. And you can use the other pillars of world building to help them better understand it. If conflict is what drives a story, then maybe your conflict can stem from somewhere in your culture or in your society. What is being challenged or ignored in the world your character lives in? What things about government or society need to change in order to help your characters better understand the theme? What is your world doing to your characters to teach them what they need to learn? The coolest thing is when readers look back through the book and can see that the author was planting the theme everywhere throughout the story, even in the geography. Think about the Chronicles of Narnia. In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the theme was all about choosing to give hope to the hopeless and understanding the true destiny that you have. C.S. Lewis conveyed the message by creating a woodland world consumed by an eternal winter. But when Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy enter Narnia, they bring hope with them, and the winter of despair that the White Witch has caused begins to thaw. When you can apply the theme of your story to all the other pillars of your world building, then you'll have proven yourself a master storyteller. To wrap up, just remember that world building is awesome, but it shouldn't be the primary thing you focus on. Your characters and your story should be your main focus. However, world building can be one of the most effective tools in teaching a lesson and crafting an epic story that stays with people. So remember the 5 pillars: culture, society, religion, environment, and theme. There's a lot more to touch on with world building, and I'll probably do that in future episodes, but if you can adhere to the 5 pillars, you'll have succeeded in crafting a world that feels expansive, memorable, and iconic. And never forget your stories matter. The world needs good stories. They need to hear your voice. So go out there, make a good story, and make a flipping awesome world. And with that, storytellers of tomorrow, I will see you all next week. Let the light shine brightly upon your way.